Hey, and welcome back. It's Pop Culture Pulse. Big news from Star Wars. Get ready for loads of Mando Universe content in the next few years. There's a new movie about another Mandalorian and Grogu, Season 2 of Ahsoka, The Mandalorian Season 4, and a movie called Heir to the Empire. Exciting times ahead for Star Wars fans. Let's go step by step to see how everything fits in the timeline, as they've left us with a few questions. It's typical for Star Wars to make big announcements that raise more questions. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to catch all our videos. I'll cover each episode and movie release they announce with detailed videos. It's going to be exciting. Star Wars dropped a big announcement mainly focusing on the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. But amidst that news, there were 3 or 4 smaller reveals that needed a closer look and careful reading. So, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is set to be completely different from the Thrawn movie, previously announced and helmed by Dave Filoni. Jon Favreau is lined up to direct the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, which seems like a pretty safe bet considering his successful track record with several movies that made a good amount of money in the past. He actually kicked off the Marvel Cinematic Universe by directing the first Iron Man movie starring Robert Downey Jr., but that Mandalorian and Grogu movie is planned as the next Star Wars film for theaters. However, this doesn't mean they're scrapping The Mandalorian Season 4. According to a report by Deadline, they're still moving forward with The Mandalorian Season 4. It's just scheduled to come out after The Mandalorian and Grogu movie hits theaters. Now, with the recent announcement of the Mando and Grogu movie as their next major film, it indicates a change in the release schedule for all the other movies they unveiled last year. If you recall, let's go back to 2023 during the Star Wars celebration. That's when they revealed a bunch of upcoming movies. However, all those movie releases have been pushed back, seemingly for practical reasons. Instead, they've decided to prioritize their 2 most popular characters at the moment for their first new movies since 2019. In our opinion, that's an obvious and smart choice for them. There were some debated choices about which characters should star in the next Star Wars movie. The big question was, who would attract audiences to the theaters? They ended up opting for our 2 most popular characters and assigning them to a trusted director. Despite the chatter in recent months suggesting a Rey-centered movie as the next big release, it turns out differently. They've got plans for an Origin of the Jedi movie, set at the start of the timeline. Additionally, the Thrawn movie directed by Dave Filoni is still in the works. The Taika Waititi Star Wars movie hasn't had much buzz lately. Before all this, if Star Wars wanted a secure choice for their first major movie, I would have suggested they move up the Thrawn movie and release it sooner. It seems like Star Wars was under pressure to release a movie as quickly as possible with the best director, storyline and beloved characters. Ultimately, they went with Jon Favreau, known for his work on The Mandalorian with Grogu. I believe the Thrawn movie will be fantastic once it's released. However, there were some concerns with the Ahsoka series and introducing the Thrawn character. Audiences aren't as familiar with him, so they delayed the movie to allow for better setup during Ahsoka Season 2. Although Dave Filoni, often likened to the new Kevin Feige of Star Wars, has been expected to take on this role for a while, he might not have the same proven track record as a director, especially in live action compared to Jon Favreau. Hence, Jon Favreau appears to be the safer choice between the 2. Dave Filoni is set to eventually direct his Thrawn movie. However, there's a lot happening behind the scenes. It seems like the higher-ups, like the powerful figure Bob Iger, are pushing for a speedy release of a strong Star Wars movie in theaters. Unfortunately, none of the other planned movies were ready for this rush. So the decision seems to be let's go with a safe bet, a Mandalorian and Grogu movie directed by Jon Favreau. Reports from various industry sources suggest that filming for this movie will likely begin later this year. Although no release date has been officially announced, if they move quickly there's a chance it might hit theaters by Christmas 2025. However, if they need more time, they might postpone it until Christmas 2026. Due to various industry strikes, many projects in Hollywood have faced delays, so the usual timeline estimation of 2025 might need to be adjusted to 2026. In the big movie announcement, they confirmed Dave Filoni is working on Ahsoka Season 2. Many from Season 1 hinted at a second season. It's uncertain if Ahsoka Season 2 comes before or after the Grogu movie. Show production usually takes a year. Filoni was writing scripts before last year's strike. Reports last year mentioned almost finished scripts needing final touches before filming. Some Ahsoka characters might briefly appear in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. But the big crossover, like Avengers Endgame for Star Wars, is planned for the Thrawn movie, still a few years away. The focus of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie will mainly be on them, with possible cameos from characters like Bo-Katan, Luke Skywalker, or Ezra Bridger. However, Ahsoka and her crew are mostly elsewhere in the current timeline, with a few exceptions. In the Mando Grogu movie, Ahsokan characters from the other galaxy won't have a major role. Most of the movie will focus on Grogu discovering Thrawn's story, which might have been part of the Mandalorian Season 4 originally. Thrawn won't be the main villain here. They're saving that for the Thrawn movie, treating it as a significant moment in Star Wars, like New Hope or Empire Strikes Back. A new character might step in as the main antagonist, someone unseen in the shows before. Anyone could fit this role. You can share who you think should be the main villain in the Mando Grogu movie in the comments. There's a chance it could be a Force-sensitive character due to the return of the Undead Night sisters connected to Thrawn. The containers seem to hold the remains of 9 sisters they plan to resurrect. The plot of Ahsoka Season 2 won't change much due to the Mando and Grogu movie. They're mostly stuck in another galaxy, so expect a continuation from the previous season's cliffhangers, involving Ahsoka, Sabine, and others finding their way back to the main galaxy. There's talk about more scenes with a younger Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka's past possibly involving Force ghosts or Anakin's influence in the present. Hayden Christensen's recent cameos, including an Obi-Wan Kenobi, revived his acting career. He's definitely returning, but they're deciding whether to recast Anakin's younger self or resolve his storyline differently. In the big movie announcement, they confirmed Dave Filoni is working on Ahsoka Season 2. Many from Season 1 hinted at a second season. It's uncertain if Ahsoka Season 2 comes before or after the Grogu movie. Show production usually takes a year. Filoni was writing scripts before last year's strike. Reports last year mentioned almost finished scripts needing final touches before filming. Some Ahsoka characters might briefly appear in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. But the big crossover, like Avengers Endgame for Star Wars, is planned for the Thrawn movie, still a few years away. The focus of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie will mainly be on them, with possible cameos from characters like Bo-Katan, Luke Skywalker, or Ezra Bridger. However, Ahsoka and her crew are mostly elsewhere in the current timeline, with a few exceptions. The Thrawn movie, similar to Heir to the Empire, will come out at least a year after the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, maybe longer. Other TV shows will fill the gap. Star Wars is focusing on Mandoverse movies, before exploring other timelines. The Grogu-centered film was a safe bet for the next Star Wars movie, but many details are still unknown. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. Unfortunately, they didn't mention a release date. Thanks for watching. Wishing you a Happy New Year, and I'll catch you in the next video.